Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install Hackintosh Ventura the new way using Proxmox. So if you don't know what Proxmox is, it's a Type 1 hypervisor. So a hypervisor is basically a virtualization platform, but it's run on bare metal. Just to let you know that this method hasn't been tested on laptops, so it's guaranteed not to work on them. Anyway, let's get started. So first we're going to install Proxmox. To do this we need to prep our USB installer, install and configure it. So let's do that. First we need to download the Proxmox ISO file, which we can download from proxmox.com. Then we want to click on the download section, then click Proxmox Virtual Environment, ISO Images, and download the Proxmox VE 7.3 ISO installer. Now we're going to wait for this to download. Depending on your connection speed, this might take a long time. Luckily, mine's quite quick, so about 2 minutes. So let's wait for it to download. So you can see we've got that downloaded now, so we're going to click Show in Finder, and you can see we've got it here. Next, we're going to need something to use to write the ISO image to the USB drive. So we're going to use a program called Balena Etcher that you can download from balena.io/etcher. All the links, by the way, will be in the description below. But all you want to do is click Download Etcher and then download it for your specific version. Now I'm on macOS, so I'll click Download for macOS. But if you're on Windows, I recommend using the Portable Edition. This will stop you having to install it. Just thought I'd tell you that. Once it's downloaded, you want to double click on the Balena Etcher installer and then just drag it into the applications folder. I'm not going to do that because it's already installed on this machine, but that's what you'll need to do. You're going to open up Balena Etcher, and then you'll see a menu that will ask us to write and stuff, which will appear shortly. But we want to click Flash from File and then find our Proxmox ISO installer. So it's somewhere in here. Select it, click Open, then plug in a USB flash drive over 4 GB in size. Then click on Select Target, and then your disk should appear. So I've got this SanDisk Cruiser Glide 32 GB USB. So we'll click Select. All we need to do is click Flash. Now on Windows, it could say Windows Command Processor, just click Allow. On macOS you just need to type your password. Whoops, I did not type it in right. There we go. Then it will start to flash the installer. So now we just need to wait for it, so let's do it. So you can see the Proxmox ISO has successfully been written to the flash drive. Now all we need to do is install it on the computer. So the way we're going to do this is obviously bring up the boot menu. Now I'm going to be actually using Proxmox to install Proxmox because I've already got it installed and ready to go. But for you, all you need to do is put your USB in one of the 3 USB ports on your computer. If you have three USB 3 ports, please choose them, as obviously the installation will be a bit quicker. Anyway, you need to find your boot key too for your motherboard. For Asus it's usually F8, but if you're unsure of your boot key, just type in your motherboard manufacturer and your model and you should be able to find it on Google. So, once you turn on the computer, you're going to be building your Hackintosh on whilst holding the boot options key. You should see a menu that looks like this. So you should see a menu like this. You're obviously going to pick your legacy option if you're using NVIDIA, not the UEFI one that you see here. You want to view the legacy option. Now, because I'm virtualizing using Proxmox, it'll only let me use UEFI, so I'm going to have to do that. But for AMD you can choose UEFI too. But I recommend you doing legacy on a bare metal installation. Because I'm virtualizing it, it'll only let me do UEFI. So I'm going to press enter. We should be presented with this Proxmox bootloader. If we press enter again, it'll boot us into the installed GUI. So after some loading, we'll be presented with a sort of an installation GUI. You can see it's pulled an IP address from the router as well there. Well, after the loading is finished, we should be presented with the end user license agreement, as you can see here. So you need to read through it and then press accept at the bottom right. Then you're presented with the screen to choose your disk. I've only got one here as I'm virtualizing it, but remember, obviously you'll have a lot more than me. So select the one that you want to install on and click on next. The next screen is some regional settings that you need to set. So it should all be set for you, but I've just got it as United Kingdom. Then click on next. This next page is where we're going to set a root password and an email address. So make sure you do that. Then click on next. Then the next screen is the networking, which is quite important. So set a host name, so why not copy me, pv-hackintosh.local. And then you can set the IP address, you can change it if you want, which I don't recommend doing if you're a basic user. But one thing I do recommend is changing the DNS server to Cloudflare's, which is 1.1.1.1. Then all we have to do is click on next. It's going to give us a summary of what we're doing, and then click install. By the way, if you've not seen an IP address of the one in your subnet, for example mine's 192.168.0.0/24, if you've not got that, then the networking drivers in your machine, something's wrong with them, which you can have a look on the internet how to fix on Linux. But you can see now we're just presented with the installer, so we're going to wait for it to install. So once it's installed, it will automatically reboot. You can see it's got a version of Grub, and it's actually just going to do some loading, which doesn't take very long at all, especially when you're using an SSD. Also, make sure to remove your USB once the installer is finished, just so then it doesn't boot directly into it. But when booted, as you can see an IP address. You need to type that into the browser exactly as it is, including HTTPS and the 8006 port. Then you should see a screen like this. So what you need to do is put the username as root, and then that password is the one that you set in the installation. Now I've switched over to my main Proxmox node, but yours will be nice and clean and fresh. Now we can go into downloading the stuff for macOS. So let's do that. So for the actual image you need, you go on archive.org. You do that, macOS collection. Basically, it's a great collection. This, I recommend downloading it as a torrent because you can get really terrible download speeds if you just download it from the internet. So you just download this torrent file here. If you're unsure how to download a torrent, just have a look on the internet. You can use a torrent client like Transmission or uTorrent. But once you've done that, you download the ISO image. We're going to be doing Ventura today, and you also need to download OpenCore KVM ISO. Again, all the links will be in the description, so you won't even need to search on the internet for that. Make sure you do use this macOS ISO though from this site, because otherwise it won't work. But basically, you just want to download the latest version, and you'll get that one there, and you just get a ISO. Then you just upload that using, yours will be local LVM and local at the top, and then what you want to do is upload that to local. Apologize for the speed. ISO images, then click on upload, and then you select both of the files and upload them. Now we can get onto actually preparing our VM. So now that we have all of our ISOs downloaded, we're ready to create our virtual machine. Now all the steps that I'm going to show you, you need to make sure that you follow them very carefully, because one slight mistake and your machine won't boot. So we're going to first click on Create VM at the top right. Then we're going to give it an ID. So you could put 1000 like me, just because for later reference it'll be easier. Then give it a name, so I'm going to call this macOS Ventura. And then go on over to OS, and I want you to select the Open Core first. Remember, the Open Core first, not the Ventura ISO, the Open Core first. Then set the type to Other, and that's what it needs to look like for you. Then when we go on System, again you have to copy what I'm doing. So for the graphic card, you want to go to VMware Compatible. The machine is going to be Q35, and the BIOS is going to be OVMF. And then select a storage pool and untick pre-enroll keys. Make sure that that's unticked. Then we're going to go to SCSI controller and set that as just a normal one and not single, and just enable QE mute agent. Then we're going to go over to disks, and what we're going to do is set the bus device to VirtIO block and set the size to at least 40 gigabytes. So I'm going to do 120. Tick discard and untick IO thread, and the cache is going to be right back unsafe. Once you've done that, set at least 4 cores, which I recommend just doing that for installation and adding more later, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And then set the type to host. When that's done, go to memory and set at least 4 gigabytes of RAM. And then untick ballooning device, because you'll get loads of problems if it's ballooning. Then we'll click on network, untick firewall, and set the model to VMware VMXNet 3. Once we've done that, click on finish. Then our virtual machine will be created. Now we're into editing the configuration files, which we will do right now. So I'm actually on the blog right now. We're basically going to go to our hardware section of our virtual machine that we've just created. And we want to click add and then CD DVD drive, making sure that the bus device is IDE and 0. Then we're going to select our Ventura ISO, which I will do now. And then click add. Then we're going to go to options, double click into boot order, move the open core all the way to the top, followed by the IDE 0 Ventura ISO. Also, you can just untick net 0. Click OK. Then scroll up to the top, go to your shell on your node. Again, apologies for the slowness. If we click on shell. Now we're going to wait for it to load. And then we're going to go to nano etc pve qemu's server, then 1000.conf, remembering that the 1000 is the VM configuration ID, which is there. Then if we go down to the IDE disks, instead of media equals CD-ROM, we're going to get rid of that and type in cache equals unsafe for both of the IDE drives. This will convert them into disks. Then we want to go all the way to the bottom of this, and then go to my blog and copy the appropriate arguments. So if you're using Intel, these; if you're using AMD, them. Then right click, paste. Then once that's done, just press backspace once, so then you write at the end. Then you want to do Control X, Y, enter. And then we're ready to boot up macOS. So if we head back over to our VM, go to console, we're then ready to boot it up. So I'm going to full screen it, just so it's easier for you. We click into it, click start now. Then we're going to wait. We go to UEFI shell when it boots up, press enter, enter again, and then do the following command: fs0 colon, and then once you've done that, do backslash. If you're on United Kingdom keyboard layer, it's Alt-GR and the hashtag symbol, system, backslash library, backslash core services, backslash boot.efi. Enter. And you can see now that we can see the Apple logo. Now this is a great sign. We should now see a progress bar, as you can see here. It shouldn't take long to load the installer. I'm actually loading it off a network attached storage volume, so it might take a bit longer for me than you. But we're going to wait for it to load. As you can see now, we're in the installer. We're going to go to disk utility, click on continue. Change the view to all devices. Select the Apple Link Vertile Block Media, click erase, and then name it macOS. Click erase. It's going to erase as APFS. Then once it's done that, click done. Close out of disk utility and double click install macOS Ventura. Once that's open, click on continue. I'm running off a network attached storage volume, so that's why it's going to take a bit for me to load. Then click on agree, and then agree again. Click macOS, click continue. Now we're going to have to wait on this screen for a while, but I'll meet you when we're on the next part of the installation, which will be actually rebooting, so hold on. So after a while you should see a menu like this. You just want to press enter. Then it will reboot once again. You just press enter again. Then you will see the Apple logo and a loading bar again, but it will tell you that it'll take about 29 minutes, which it actually takes a lot longer than that. But you might get a message that says error occurred while preparing an update. This is completely normal, so we're going to actually have to wait more than 30 minutes, because after we get this message, we're going to actually need to completely shut down the VM and power it back on again. I'm unsure why it does this, but we'll just have to deal with it for now. Anyway, let's wait for the next progress bar. You can see here, this is the message that I was on about. All we want to do is go to the side here and click on the power icon and click stop. Then click on OK, and it will stop the virtual machine. Once it's stopped, you just want to click start again. Then the installation progress will reset back to how it was, where it's 29 minutes remaining, but sadly that's all we can do. So if we press enter, again the process will carry on. So I'll meet you back when hopefully we're finished. So here we are in the setup screen. So I had to press enter a couple of times to reboot, about 4 or 5 times, but the installer will be very laggy. So I'm going to scroll down to United Kingdom, click on continue. It's very laggy, the install, the mouse freezes up and so does the keyboard, so you're going to just have to be patient with it. But we're going to do everything as normal, except don't sign into Apple ID and things like that. But once we've done that, then we can go on to GPU pass-through. So I'll show you how to enable IOMMU and things like that to get GPU pass-through ready for macOS. So I'm not going to migrate from any other, and I'm not going to use Apple ID either. But you can see the graphics are very, very slow, with it taking quite a while to load. Click on skip, wait a moment. But I won't bore you, so I'll just be back when I'm finished. So you can see here we are on macOS Ventura. Now we're going to transfer our EFI folder. So we need to open up Safari and download OpenCore Configurator. So I'm going to download that from the Mackie 100s projects website, and then we're going to scroll down, click download. Should be quite a quick download, it's not very big, the file, it's about 10 megabytes. But if we open it in Finder, we want to make sure to right click and open to bypass Gatekeeper, which is macOS built-in malware protection, sort of. So I'm going to wait for that to open. We click open here. Remember, don't minimize any applications because it will freeze up. All we want to do is click on Tools, Main TFI. Then we want to go to first the QEMU hard disk one. Click Mount Partition. Enter your password. Then once it's mounted, click Open. And I just want you to drag the EFI partition to the desktop. Once that's over, you want to unmount that current one and mount the new one, which is the AppleLink Verteo Block Media, which is the main hard disk. You see it's blank, if we just drag that in there. And that's it. So, if I shut down, untick reopen Windows, shut down the virtual machine now, then we can remove our disks because we don't need them anymore. So, we want to remove the IDE disks because we don't need them, and I want you to create a snapshot. So I've removed them both. If we go to snapshot now, we'll do before GPU pass-through as the name. Take the snapshot, shouldn't take very long at all, that's it. And we're done. So, now I'm going to show you how to pass through your GPU. So let's do it. So, now let's go into GPU pass-through. So, again, all the commands are in the description. The first one that we're going to do is in the shell. So, in the shell, we're going to do the following command. So, we're going to do nano etc /default /grub. Enter. And then see this grub cmd line Linux. You want to delete that, all of it, all of this, and replace it with the field corresponding to your CPUs. Then run the update grub command and reboot. Obviously I'm not going to do that because I already have IOMMU on. Then once it's rebooted, you run the following command to see if it's enabled, and then we go to nano etc modules and add the following below. Once that's done, all you want to do is see if your CPU has remapping. So you should see something like this. If it doesn't, you execute the following command. But the next part of the video was actually filmed quite a while ago in one of my previous videos, but I thought I'd include it in this video as it's simpler to explain. So, see you in a moment. So, if I go to hardware, add PCI device and select the 630, I want to click select all functions but leave primary GPU and PCI Express off. If I click add and then start the machine back up, we'll see that it won't work straight away. This is because we haven't installed the Kext. But no worries, this is really easy to do and I'll walk you through that. So once we have it booted up, we're going to use a program called OpenCore Legacy Patcher. You might have heard of this before because we have done it on the channel. It allows you to run macOS on an unsupported Mac. But we're obviously not using it on an unsupported Mac, we're using it on Hackintosh. But the principle is still the same. So while Safari loads, if we go to about this Mac, and now go on system report that we've got the GPU pass through, you can see we have the GPU here. But you can see we've got no Kext loaded. And same with PCI. It says that the driver is installed, but we don't have an output through our HDMI yet. So let's install the driver. To do this, we need to go to the OpenCore Legacy Patcher website, which is right here. So if we go into that, click Getting Started, click the Run the OpenCore Patcher app and go to the Releases page on GitHub. Scroll down at the latest version and download the Patcher GUI app that will download as a zip file. You can see none of the graphics are smooth at all, but now we are going to wait for it to download. So you can see now that the download's complete, so we go into Finder and open up OpenCore Patcher. Open it. Apple will verify it and say that it's unsafe as it's been downloaded from the internet, but we're just going to click continue anyway. So what this will do is install the KEX for us. So we're going to click open. Then we'll get a list of options. We want to click post install root patch. And you can see it said graphics NVIDIA Kepler. So the GT630 uses the Kepler architecture, so that's why it's picked that up. All we need to do is click start root patching. It'll ask to relaunch its root, just click yes. It will ask for a password, so enter your password. And then we'll be ready for it to install. You can see it's doing its thing now. So it's making sure that it's verified and doing its thing. So let's wait for that. You can see that it's starting to do things, and now it's rebuilding the kernel cache. That'll take quite a while, so let's wait for it. So you can see it's finished. So if we click reboot and restart, now we are ready to see if it comes up on the display. So let's do that. You can see that we have the Apple logo, and if we switch over to HDMI 3, which the GT630 is built into, you can see that my login page is there directly through the GPU. So does the keyboard work? Yes, it does. So let's enter our password and wait for the login. So apologies for not screen recording this part. I just thought I'd show you so you know it's for real. So you can see here it still says that it's 5 megabytes, and you might be like, well, why? If we go to system report and go to graphics displays and give it a moment to load, you will now see that the GT630 is now here, and you can see that it's supported Metal GPU family macOS 1, and it's picked up that it's got 2 gigabytes of VRAM. So we can do things that are hardware accelerated, such as minimizing windows and things like that. But if I show you how it works, if we go on system preferences, displays, you can see that it's mirroring the default Proxmox one. Now you might not want it to do this, but sadly that's the only way to do it at the moment. So I'm going to set this to 1080p, and you can see now that we're in 1080p. So I thought just before I finish the video, I'd show you how we get in Geekbench using the metal benchmark. You can see I get 1746. This is in Proxmox. When I did a test on bare metal, this is what I got. You can see it's 1239 on the bare metal, so we actually get better using virtualization. So there's actually no overhead from doing this. So anyway, let's get on to ending this video. So that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully it worked for you. You set up Hackintosh Ventura the new way. Anyway, thanks ever so much for watching this video. If you did like the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and consider joining my membership program from the description below. Also, if you need any more help, please visit my help section on my website. Thanks ever so much for watching. Goodbye.